most recent one, I can't pinpoint a date to it. There were elections, Hagelgat. There were changes, and new people were going in. They're having like a swearing in. My sister Ruby was here with me at the time, and I was like, I want to go see, because one of the people that got in was my brother Kevin. I was like, I want to go there. I want to support him. And Ruby was like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do like a day trip, and we'll come back right away. So that's what we did. We went down there, and I had the time wrong. I thought it started at 1. I think it started at 6 or something. My mom and dad were down at the hospital, and we were at their house alone with Desmond, Peyton, me, and Ruby. Desmond went to go lay down, and he was resting, and Peyton was just kind of puttering around with her iPad. Ruby walked around, and she was gathering up the medicine to put up on the kitchen counter, because my mom and dad's medicine were out, and we didn't want Peyton to like open any bottles and get hurt. So she was like, there's medicine in your dad and them's room, but I don't want to touch any of it because I don't want to mix it up. So just watch for when baby goes in there. And I was like, okay. And I was doing something in the kitchen. I don't know, I think I was cleaning or something, or I was doing something. And I was walking by, and I went to go sit by Ruby, and Ruby could see right down the hallway in the chair in the dining room. And Ruby was like, hey, Peyton went in there. And I was like, I looked over, and I could see a glimpse of her going by. So I went walking down the hall, and just when I got near the door, like, you know how a door rests against the ledge, but it's not closed? It was like that. And I was walking down, and my dad and them's door was like resting against the ledge, and then it closed. And I was like, I thought it was Peyton. So I opened the door, and I looked in there, and I was like, looked behind the door, and I looked all over, looked under mom's bed and stuff, and I was like, she's not in here. So I went walking to what used to be my old room. It was like right across from dad's room, and I opened the door, and Peyton's standing there looking at her iPad, and she looks up at me, and she's like doing her own little thing. Desmond's laying on the bed sleeping, and I was like, I went out to the living room, and I looked at Ruby, and I was like, she wasn't even in there. She's in my room. And Ruby's like, ew, or something like that. And she was like, oh, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna make sure. Something must be bugging her or something like that. And this is something we definitely heard, because you know what it sounds like when a kid jumps off the bed from one room, opens the door, and runs across the hall and jumps on another bed in another room. And like, we definitely seen Peyton run and do that. And she was like, she's in there, Ruby. And Ruby went running down before me, and I was behind her. And Ruby tried the door, because like you can hear her run, like you could hear Peyton run and then jump on the bed, and then we would have heard her if she got up and she like closed the door or something, but she just jumped on the bed. And when we started running down the hallway, the door slammed, and Ruby was like, oh my god. And she got to the door, and it was locked. It was like locked shut, and there's like the wedge on the door and everything was covered. Like you couldn't pick it with a butter knife or anything. It was a key lock. It was pretty solid, and we were freaking out because I just touched that door when it was closed and that, and it wasn't locked. So, and Peyton, like she doesn't know to bug locks or anything. She doesn't do stuff like that. And plus, you could tell she was still on the bed, and we were freaking out and like saying like, open the door, and you could hear that she was just like sitting still on the bed. Desmond came out, and like we were all panicking, and he grabbed the ladder from downstairs, and they were trying to get in the window from outside, and they couldn't get in. And I was telling Des, I was like, just go down to the hospital and get the key from Dad. I'll wait here. And Ruby was like, it's gonna take too long. It's gonna take too long. Just break the door down. Break the door down. It's too quiet in there. And I just kicked it, and the door went flying, and you could see the frame breaking and that. And I looked at Peyton, and she was just scared sitting on the bed. And I was like, out, out, out. And like kicking her out of the room. And I was looking at the door frame. I was like, oh, it's like, I felt so bad. Mom and them try to keep their house so nice and everything. They try to take care of what they have and that. And I made their door look bad and everything. And I felt really bad about it. And it was really weird how that happened. And I was getting mad, but I wasn't like, I was mad at myself that it happened, and should have been watching her better or whatever. And Ruby was like, don't get mad at her. That's what it wants. It's trying to ruin our day. I was like, just stay happy, stay positive. We'll go to the hall, and we met Dad and them on the road, and they waved at us, and they were going up the house, and I felt like a kid that was going to get in trouble. I was like, I gotta meet them. Excuse me. I turned around and went following them, and I wanted to tell them I had to break their door, and I was sorry, and felt bad about it. And a lot of that stuff you can't explain away, like the fact that that door shut on me moments before, and I opened it, and Peyton wasn't even in there. Peyton running and jumping on the bed, and it wasn't like right away the door slammed or anything. It was like 30 seconds later, and then us running towards the door, and then the door slammed. So she couldn't have just ran in there and whipped the door closed. It wasn't like that. Like there was a time delay. So there was something else happening, and I wouldn't even know what to call these stories, but those are the most recent that happened.